right, everybody, welcome back to another great episode here at the Movies with Scorpio Moon and me, Angel Espino, aka the Jackal. I have over 10 years of podcasting experience, producing, video editing, all kinds of shenanigans on the internet, and you can find all my work over at angelespino.com. With me, as usual, is the one and only Mr. Scorpio Moon.
And Mr. Scorpio Moon comes fully equipped with also about 10 years of experience in this industry, mostly podcasts and written reviews. This is probably one of the very first video shows I've done. So if you like what you see and want a little more of it, also check out my personal side channel, Nerd Certified, also found on YouTube.
And first, before we continue on, let's just remind the audience, Scorpio, that we need you guys to hit the subscribe button, notification, and that big old finger. Please give us a thumbs up. It really comes in handy. And this week, we're going to do our top 10 list of 2021. And with that said, folks, let's get on with the rest of the show.
Okay, folks, so you're getting a top 10 from the show combined. So Mr. Jackal and I are each going to give you 5 movies. So we've given you a total top 10 from the Scorpio, Moon, and Jackal at the Movie Show. I guess I'll be going first. We're working our way up. So my number 5, coming in at number 5 for me, was Free Guy.
Lose the skin!
How am I supposed to get rid of my skin?
Take it off, man. Just take it off. What are you doing?
What? Seriously.
The whole thing. The face, the
How?
outfit, everything. Ditch it. If you don't, we're gonna kill you.
Why?
And we're gonna keep killing you.
Still why?
Until we do find out who you are, and then we're gonna ban you for life.
No. Okay, I want to comply. I just find the order of those threats very confusing.
Somebody's about to get shot.
Light him up!
On another review, I called this probably the most complete movie of 2021. Doesn't leave you hanging in any way, but it also really just checks off every box that a movie has to. You watch Free Guy, and there's nothing missing from this. It's a movie that, while it's very firmly entrenched in nerd world, it really does kind of elevate above just what its elevator concept is. Again, we won't go too heavy on spoilers here, but it definitely does more than just the gimmick that you see in the trailer in a really, really surprising way that absolutely makes it one of the best movies of the year.
My number 5 movie of the year is Venom: Let There Be Carnage.
Any last words, Warden? No! Please!
And I know I speak probably for myself and a handful of audience members out there who absolutely love this movie. Some people have been kind of harsh on it, but for me, it just totally works. In a universe where Eddie Brock is his own Eddie Brock and not maybe the Eddie Brock that we're used to from the comics, this is drawing from a certain part of the Venom comic book lore, and it has a beautifully shot film. The first one, I loved the visuals, the concept, the storyline, the acting, and they followed up beautifully with Cletus Cassidy as Carnage, and of course Eddie Brock, who was fantastic again, played by a fantastic actor, and Tom Hardy, who does just a great job in everything he's been in. I'm a huge fan of his, and the directing by Andy Serkis was fantastic. Who would have thought that Andy Serkis would have been such a good director for these kind of movies? Woody Harrelson, who I love as an actor, does a fantastic job again as Cletus Cassidy. And my number 5 movie of the year is Venom: Let There Be Carnage. And I can't wait for the third one. Can't wait for the Sinister Six.
And then coming in at number 4 for me, my number 4 was a big surprise, but for number 4 of the whole year, I'm actually putting in the new Matrix movie.
Doors on your right.
Set and setting, right?
Oh, no.
It's all about set
and setting.
After our first contact went so badly, we thought elements from your past might help ease you into the present.
Nothing comforts anxiety like a little nostalgia.
Based on a lot of my other reviews, you guys would probably think that I would just go running from something like that. I hate these legacy revisits and endless soft reboot, sequel, remakes, blah, blah, blahs, but I was really surprised that the new Matrix movie was not a soft reboot, not a passing of the torch, but really was a proper sequel and revisitation of a franchise that I've always really, really liked. I thought this was going to suck, but I was actually really, really impressed with it. I would loved how the Matrix didn't fall into the same traps that so many of these other revisits do. So many of the mistakes that turned me off from these kind of movies, those mistakes were missing in this new Matrix. And I really liked that they actually filled in the story and gave you something to work with. I'm looking forward to more of them.
My number 4 movie of the year is No Time to Die. That's right, the 007 entry with Daniel Craig as James Bond himself. Once again, nailed it out of the park. This has been my favorite run at the James Bond series, and I'm a big 007 fan for many, many, many years now. Several decades, to be exact. I've loved just about every actor that's come before, but Daniel Craig is by far my definitive James Bond. But the director did a fantastic job finishing out this story, and it's the first time that James Bond has been told from beginning to the end, and you get a real concept of what James Bond's life was. Now, of course, they're going to reboot with a new James Bond in the next one. It's not going to be just a continuation from what I heard, but in this one, No Time to Die, I really felt like they completely gave me everything I've ever wanted to see of a James Bond movie. So 2021, number 4, No Time to Die. Thank you, Daniel Craig, for your time at the Secret Service. Her Majesty thanks you as well.
And then my number 3, probably something that's a little surprising to see on a top 10 like this, but my number 3 of the year was actually The Forever Purge.
We're gonna lock down now, y'all.
A bit of a trend that you're going to see in my top 5 here for our top 10 is that sometimes it's not so much about the story, but the way that the story is told. And what I really appreciated about The Forever Purge was that it managed to use current events to tell its story, but without being, for lack of a better word, overly preachy about it. The elevator concept for The Purge here was always, what if all crime was legal, for 24 hours or for a night, basically. But there, from there, The Purge has always been a very political, very politicized kind of thing. It wears its heart on its sleeve in that regard. You watch the first one, and right off the bat, you can see that they clearly have a message. Something they're trying to say here. But when you see The Forever Purge, it would be very easy to try and compare some of the events that happen in that to like MAGA type things or the Capitol riots and things like that. But it's not a movie that's trying to be overly preachy and shove that message down your throat. Again, for lack of a better word, basically, it just kind of takes a play on current events and uses them as the background, the background for its movie. It's really just, especially in, today's, Hollywood cinematic landscape there, it's very rare to see a movie that can use those kind of events without overly politicizing it. So I was pleasantly surprised to see how they could pull that off.
My number 3 movie of the year is the movie Free Guy with one of my favorite actors, Ryan Reynolds.
Excuse me. Do you see this?
The quarterly reports on my desk by Friday.
Ryan Reynolds, who completely nails this Sean Levy directed film. He plays a bank teller who discovers that he's actually inside a brutal open world video game. And to me, this movie did what The Matrix 4 and other movies like this could not do. It told a solid story. It was fun. It had a lot of funny moments in it. Had a lot of genuinely romantic moments with him and his, female protagonist. And it was a fun ride from beginning to end. Unlike movies, for example, which you could compare to this, besides Matrix, Ready Player One, which I believe I brought up in my initial review of the movie. This movie really did feel like it was a complete film that leaves you open for sequels, but if it's a standalone, it's fine. And it was number three, Free Guy. And I hope to see more movies like this from Ryan Reynolds, where it could take itself not too seriously, but seriously enough to actually be a very good film. And this is something that he did beautifully in this movie. Everything worked about this movie for me, so much that it landed number three on my top five. So there you go, number three, Free Guy.
Free Guy probably ranking very high for both of us because it was an original property as too. It doesn't necessarily have a source material. Similar to the feel of my number two, which is going to be Old.
Please, let me see. No, this is not making any sense, Prescott.
I need to get my ass to a hospital now. What's with all y'all faces?
It's hard to explain.
This is messed up, man. Where'd it go?
This is some kind of parlor trick.
Now, Old was technically based on a French comic book. There's a graphic novel, there's a source material for this, but, Old felt like a new property, watching the movie. But what I really like the most about Old is, look, I don't care what anyone says, this is a horror movie, plain and simple. You'll probably see it listed under the thrillers or something like that when it arrives on Netflix and such. But no, Old was just really full of body horror, psychological horror. Yeah, there's kind of like a family drama thing going on in the background too, but Old was just a really freaky, creepy movie that partitioned its information in a very, like, kind of frenetic, unusual way that kind of contributed to the atmosphere of it. And it really, really worked for me. And Old was one of those movies, I had written off M. Night Shyamalan a while ago. But again, getting back to not just the story, but the way the story is told, the gimmick, or the what is M. Night Shyamalan very, very famous for, having like a big reveal at the end of his movies. The reveal here gave the movie a sense of completeness, but the movie didn't depend on it. You can enjoy the whole movie without the reveal, and it's not like, oh, cool, now we get the gimmick. I guess that makes the movie work and not work. The movie actually told a really good story on its own. Not a lot of times M. Night Shyamalan can do that without relying on his gimmick, but he did so. He did so very, very well here.
My number two movie of the year, and it just slightly ended up at number two. It could easily have been number one. Is Spider-Man: No Way Home, directed by John Watts.
Spider-Man is in fact Peter Parker.
Are you Spider-Man's girlfriend? Are you Spider-Man's girlfriend? Whoa, please don't touch her. You're just a kid.
You murdered Mysterio? Helped him murder Mysterio?
No, I didn't.
Come on,
Anybody?
Come on.
People looked up to this boy and called him a hero. Well, I'll tell you what I call him. Public enemy number one.
MJ, I'm so sorry, but I can't see anything with your hand in my...
Starring, of course, Tom Holland, Zendaya, and Benedict Cumberbatch, who is awesome as Doctor Strange. I absolutely love this third entry into the MCU Spider-Man universe. No Way Home nailed the storyline. I love the fact that they tried very hard to keep the big reveals secret from the internet, so much so that Andrew Garfield swore up and down he wasn't in this, but we all knew that he was in this. Wink, wink. And I love the fact that they went completely out of their way to include him and another great actor from the Spider-Man universe who played Spider-Man before. And because of the fan reaction, we might get an Amazing Spider-Man 3 rumors, spoilers, and I hope we do. I think Andrew Garfield and company did a fantastic job in this movie. I loved Spider-Man No Way Home, and it just slightly ended at number two. Could have easily been number one because it was that damn good. And it is the number one movie of 2021 when it comes to the box office. It's already crossed $1 billion. So, folks, for anybody out there saying that the movie industry is dead, that people are not going to theaters to watch movies, that they're not going to make any more money now post pandemic, you're absolutely wrong. It could still happen. You just have to make a good flicking flucking movie. And they did that with No Way Home. And my hat's off to Disney because they finally nailed a really good Spider-Man movie that exceeds the expectations. And I love this movie a great deal. And I hope that now that they signed up for possibly another trilogy with Tom Holland, that they continue this excellent level of filmmaking with the next two or three movies they come out with. So with that, that's my number two, Spider-Man: No Way Home.
And so, my number one, the very, very best movie of the year for me. Well, I guess you can say 2021 peaked kind of early for me, because coming in at number one for me is the Snyder cut of the Justice League. The movie is just, look, long story short, it's epic. Every bit worth its runtime. This is an epic, epic superhero movie. This is the way superhero movies should have been told, at least this one.
That's it. We got nothing more to say. I guess it didn't live up to that much of an expectation if you didn't have more to say.
And notice how I let you finish that, because I see what you did there. You tried to work in some heckling during our top 10. You tried to heckle me on my number one there. I mean, look, it's definitely a thing in a lot of movie reviews where the negativity tends to bring out longer, more involved comments. Don't get me wrong, there's probably room, or there definitely should be room to talk about what makes something so good, but, in the case of something like Justice League, to me, it just was that good. It was epic. I can say the word epic 1,000 times. That's what it was. It was a superhero epic that was larger than life, hard hitting, and just how superheroes like Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman should be brought to the big screen.
And the number one film for me in 2021 is Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Safety's off. Her feet are planted. Her face is poised. Will this be the moment of her death? Nobody knows.
Jason Reitman, this is his first big movie, and if the name sounds familiar, Jason is the son of Ivan Reitman, who directed the original two Ghostbusters movies, and they brought the son in to do this one after the failed reboot in 2016. I am a huge fan, so maybe that goes into it a little bit. I love the cast, the kids, Paul Rudd, everybody just was fantastic in this. Every bit of this film was just a beautiful thing shot. The fan service, again, the cast: Finn Wolfhard, Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, McKenna Grace. Everybody deserves a complete hats off for making this a fun movie with a lot of heart. Yes, it has a lot of callbacks and references to the original two, but you know what? Didn't matter to me because the story is a continuation to the original two, and it actually brings in the passing of Egon into this. Harold Ramis, who died in real life, is a central figure in this movie, and he has done justice. And my hats off to Jason Reitman for bringing the movie to life And the number one film for me in 2021 is Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, I know that there's talk and rumors about more movies in this universe. I hope so. And I hope Jason comes back for at least another one because he did a fantastic job really capturing the heart and soul of what Ghostbusters is. It's a horror comedy, and it's not a, gory horror comedy. It just has horror elements in it, and I think he did a bang up job on this. And I look forward to seeing more of not only his work, but more of Ghostbusters, which again just completely nailed the concept of what the Ghostbusters was all about. With the last reboot, I lost a lot of hope, uh, but this one brings back the hope that we can still get more great Ghostbusters flicks out there. So my number one movie of 2021, just edging out Spider-Man No Way Home, is Ghostbusters Afterlife.
2021 was the year of movies I was really, really looking forward to. I think it was a very special, unique year in the way they're presented, in the way that, for 2021, for a lot of us, it was the return to the movie theaters. People, I mean, look, I was still seeing movies as soon as movie theaters were opened. So I was risking my life to see movies like Freaky and New Mutants in the theaters. But, 2021 still was the return to the movie theaters for a lot of us. But they also kept the streaming going with a lot of movies coming, straight to video demand, basically. So that's a big part of why I even wanted to do a show like this, because there's so much access. You can get them in the theater, you can get them straight at home. It's a time where I could really see more movies than ever. So I hope it keeps up for 2022. And now that the genie's out of the bottle, this VOD keeps up, and I can just keep seeing tons and tons and tons of movies. So we'll be able to bring you guys so many shows. Thanks for clicking on our 2021 special.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised and encouraged that you liked Old as much as you did because I've only told you about it, and you're like Old, and I'm like, yeah, it's from M. Night Shyamalan, the guy from Sixth Sense, and you're like, oh yeah, he made a good movie once in a while, and I'm surprised you liked it as much as you did to include it in your top five. I liked Old a lot. It's in my top 15 also. But my final thoughts is this: I wasn't surprised that the cinema is not dead, because cinematic movies are always going to be around as long as movies are made. It's the experience of watching it in theaters that makes a lot of these movies special. Watching it at home, it's fun. It can be entertaining. You could maybe enjoy some movies a little bit more because you're paying more attention to it, and you can pause and this and that and go to the bathroom. But the cinematic aspect to a lot of these big blockbusters are there for a reason. And I'm just happy that cinemas are starting to get back on the ground. And if look, Spider-Man No Way Home is any indication, the whole excuse that it's because of the pandemic the movies are not making money goes out the window. Crossed $1 billion within a week, and there's no excuse for the movies doing the same. You just got to make a good film, and if you do that, the audience will respond with big numbers. And for all intents and purposes, Justice League Snyder Cut ended up at number 18 on my top 20. It wasn't a movie that I loved or completely hated. I would give it like a 6 out of 10. A D plus, if that. It was just too long, and I didn't like the musical choices for it. I think that sometimes Zack Snyder gets lost in his own mind when it comes to like some of the musical choices, and it completely takes you off of the moment. It's not as fast as I would have wanted a superhero flick to be, and I think he did that on purpose to drag it out for 4 hours, which there was no need for that. This could have been easily a 3 hour movie and been a whole lot better for it. I do like the visuals more in this. I think they did a little bit better job at building up the movie, but again, it just dragged down way too much. And I didn't really like the cyborg take too much in this. I don't like the fact that they scrapped some of the stuff that they had planned for, like Green Lantern. I was supposed to be a part of in it, and they didn't, allow that to be in it. Overall, it still isn't really a Zack Snyder version. It's a cut that he did after the fact. but it's not the initial concept that he had going in when he was originally doing this movie. And it just, for me, it didn't really live up to expectations. But I wasn't a fan, Scorpio, of the other movies that he did in the century. Like I didn't like Men of Steel, Batman v Superman. So I mean, it wouldn't shock anybody that I wasn't a huge fan of this. But with that said, though, I will say this: I think there is room for the DCEU to have a Zack Snyder universe within, like, say, the HBO Max platform and go forward with some of these characters and continue that universe because the fan base is there. We saw that with all the fans that came out for this movie, and hats off to them for making them actually, release this flick out on HBO Max. They fought hard and tough for 2 years to get this done. We know somebody who was in the front of the line there, Mr. Zod Ryder himself, and he was hands-on like a soldier trying to get this done. And for those who really want it, I think there is room enough for everybody to have what they want and play within the world they want to play in, as long as the actors want to come back and do what they want to do with it. But I just, I didn't really like the movie all that much as you did, obviously. Um, but that's just my take. I know you didn't feel the same way I felt for Ghostbusters, for example.
No, couldn't stand that movie. I thought it was just
See?
fan service, the movie. But no, I think what you're missing on Justice League is, you think this is the 4-hour Snyder re-edit. You need to go start the petition for the full Zack Snyder 6-hour director's vision.
No, thank you.
That's what you're looking for.
That is definitely something I will skip on after watching 4 hours of this. This is the first time in any movie franchise or any movie that I've fallen asleep 3 times halfway through the movie, and I had to, like, restart it because I didn't remember what the hell I saw. All I remember was bad musical numbers and a bunch of people in costumes, and I had to restart it 2, 3 times to be able to sit through the whole thing. But I will say this though: is it better than the Joss Whedon cut? Yes, without a doubt, it's a lot better of a movie than that. But 2 times 0 or 0 times 0, 0 plus 0, still a zero. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's still not a great movie, but at least it wasn't the complete, dumpster fire that the Joss Whedon cut was. So I'll give him that much. And with that said, folks, this has been my final thought of 2021.
Happy New Year!
Peace. Until next year. Wait, it is next year.